Welcome to Untethered Fridays. Per usual, this is my regular spot, but I didn't prepare anything to talk about because I am building a business in every single moment, which I don't mind, just saying. I love it, but every single moment is full. And there are priorities, unfortunately. I wish that I could make this much higher, because in my mind, it's the bigger priority, but in actual reality, not so much. So yesterday I had a really fantastic conversation with Robin Thomas, who I have now. She's becoming a regular on my Untethered show here, Becoming Untethered. And she is pretty awesome. And we talked about shame and forgiveness. And we talked about how shame is about yourself. There's the difference between shame and guilt is like shame is I'm a bad person and guilt is I did something bad. Focusing on the person versus the behavior, which we all know, right? is the focus should go on the behavior and not on ourselves. And the way to start to get rid of that shame, or to allow that shame, to release that shame, is to start to see yourself with more compassion. And something Robin has said, and I agree because it's something that I have done as well, is putting, what a yawn. Cave bear yawn, right? So something is that I find useful is to put myself, to imagine that part of me that, as Robin would say, is in shadow, right? The part that I don't want to look at, the part that I don't want to see. I put it outside in my mind. I put it outside of me, and I talk to it. And you can have a lot more compassion for yourself that way. I like to think about, what would I think about someone else going through something like this? If someone felt this way about themselves, what would I say to them? I certainly wouldn't say to them what I say to myself at all. It wouldn't even be close. But it's about starting to see yourself with more compassion. And sorry, I'm just listening. There are things going on. And sympathy. So when you start to do that, you can start to forgive yourself. And that's where stuff really starts, right? Your feelings for yourself are the basis of your feelings in the outside world, about the outside world, right? Because if you are judging yourself for certain things, you're kind of judging others. I mean, you'll judge yourself more harshly, certainly. But don't you judge others by your own standards? It's kind of the thing. I mean, you certainly judge yourself by your own standards, and you hold yourself to a higher degree. But that just happens to be at least the way I think it is. And I think that if we can start to do that, start to see ourselves with the light of compassion, we can work towards forgiveness. And when we work towards forgiveness of ourselves, we're going to have an easier time in the world. I'm working, forgiveness of myself, definitely. And there are certain things outside of myself, certain people and certain actions that were taken or not taken, outside of myself, that I am working on forgiveness. I wish I could just be like, bam, forgiven. But as much as my brain wants to do that, my heart's like, meh. I don't know about that. I still feel really crappy about it. And I was talking about another thing I was kind of mentioning last night too, is this concept that really resonates with me. This concept that really resonates with me is forgiveness is important, and you should definitely forgive people. But what is more important is letting go of the thing that needs to be forgiven. Like, stop being upset about the thing that needs to be forgiven, right? Rather than being upset with the person, chill out about what happened. And that is something I'm definitely working on. And again, that starts with compassion, right? If you can have compassion and sympathy for the person who you feel wronged you, it's easier to forgive, because sometimes the thing is too, you can also, I don't know about you, I find that I can forgive somebody, I can have the compassion, I can have the sympathy, and I can be like, aw, but then later on I can forget. I can forget that I feel such compassion and sympathy, and I can just get angry about it again, right? I'm thinking about something specific. I was just I was cleaning up my text messages, which really isn't a priority, but I seem to like to distract myself every once in a while with stuff like that. I found a text message from the summer that had to do with something that happened with my family. And it made me so mad. Like, it actually like turned my stomach, and it like disgusted me. I'm noticing a lot of vocal shredding, and I don't really like it. So I'm going to attempt to, there's another thing I want to do that's not on the priority list, but is in my brain, is vocal work. So that I don't do the vocal shredding thing anymore, and that my accent isn't as lateral as it has gotten. It's not even lateral, it's more like, ah, right? Instead of saying yes, I say yes. Like, it's gross, I don't like it. It's not that it's gross, right? Why would it be gross? I just don't like it. Alarms. Okay, point being, I am working on compassion. But the thing about that I'm finding difficult is, so something happened and it was really crappy, and it's continuing to happen. It's something with someone who's supposed to be close to me, someone who, it's a strange situation. It's really sad. Like, it's really sad. It's really sad. It's really sad for me. It's really sad for, honestly, my niece. It's sad for my sister. It's sad for everybody involved. And it's unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. And I don't understand where it comes from. It's never been explained to me, regardless of my asking. All I know is that anything I say gets woven into whatever narrative is in her head. That's just not true. And I wonder if it has to do with like guilt at this point, because she can't actually think she's right. You know what I mean? Like, how in denial? Like, I wish I understood the mindset, but I don't have to understand the mindset to realize that she's in pain, and that I can be compassionate. It just, the things that she did and is doing, continues to do, and does not seem to be, it just seems like it's going to be for the rest of our lives. We're just not going to talk to each other, and I'm not going to get to see my niece grow up. I just don't. I don't know why. And it's really hard to have compassion for that. Because while she is suffering, and I know she is, because there's something going on in her brain where it's really sad. I don't know what's happening in there, in her head, but she's completely isolated herself from everyone she loves, or everyone who loves her. I mean, not everyone. She's got her husband and his family, but her family, and she's just cut herself off. And I don't know why. None of us understand why. We wish it weren't that way. We love her, and We want her to be in our lives. And I just don't understand why what happened. And there's a lot of anger I can feel right now. And I'm not gonna judge myself for that anger. So, here's the thing, right? Let's get to the actual issue here, which is doesn't have to do with her. In the end, it doesn't have to do with her. It has to do with my own feelings about the outside world and what I want it to be versus what it is. And it's not the way I want it to be. And that's just something one has to accept. She has every right to be. She has every right to be the way that she wants to be or is. And I feel bad for her, like really bad. Like really bad, not bad. It makes me sad to think about that. But as far as what I can do and do. Sorry. Oh God, I'm a juvenile. So the only thing I can do, right, is not even work with the thoughts that I have about it or the feelings that I have about it, because they are just going to be what they are. The thoughts I have are going to be what they are. The feelings I have are going to be what they are. And what I can do is just allow it to be and work with the desire to do something about it. And not meaning I shouldn't have the desire to do something about it. I do, and I am not going to stop having that desire anytime, well, as far as I know, anytime soon. I am, sorry, I lost my train of thought. What I can do is like not even touch the desire to do something about it, just like relax and release and just watch that. Just watch it, It is what it is, and it's going to continue to be what it is, and I'm just going to allow it to be. And there's so much in there, right? There was so much we all have. We all have that we are dealing with, that we're coping with, that we are often trying to change the world outside because of. And yeah, I definitely need to do some vocal work. Feeling very self-conscious about that. Anyway, the point is, we work with that. We work with the desire to do something about it and not judge ourselves for any of it. We don't judge ourselves. This is where shame comes in. I wish I'd had these thoughts, or like at least I pretended like I knew what I was going to talk about at the beginning, because sometimes I eventually figure it out, right? So coming back to shame, this is not so. Our thoughts, our feelings, our desires, they're nothing to judge, because when we judge them, we put them in shadow. We don't look at them, and we rob ourselves of our power, right? Because part of our power is holding like those things. It's a samskara, right? So those things come in that we don't want to be there, or even that we do want to be there, and we hold them, and that takes energy, and we don't realize it, but it does. It takes a lot of energy. And when we're able to let those things go, when we're able to make friends with those parts of ourselves, which I definitely need to work on. Not need, because that's a scarcity. That's scarcity. I am working on 30 thoughts in my brain. Let's focus back on what we were talking about, which was shame and not casting things in the shadow. And when you judge yourself and judge the things you're thinking, you're feeling, you're all that stuff, or the things that you've done, regret, right? Wow, I am a distractible person. there's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to my therapist about that. So, yeah, when you cast those into shadow and you hold those things there, and you number one, you hold those things, and they so that something from the outside comes in and hits those things and compounds them, right? Now you're holding that there too, and it's blocking the energy flow. And so you've got the original thing, and then like 50 things that remind you of the original thing, or the things that remind you of reminding you of the original thing. You've got all these things compounded, and they're so blocked, and you're holding them there. You don't realize you are, but you are, by putting them in shadow, right? By judging them and not looking at them. When you do look at them, when you do make friends with them, you can let those things go. And you get that energy back. You get that power back that you were using to hold them there. Vocal work needs to happen. Link ladder technique. What? Yeah, that's going to happen soon. Anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I don't really have much more to say than that. I hope that was useful to you, or at least gave you something to think about when it comes to shame and fear and regret and guilt and forgiveness of others, forgiveness of yourself, right? Those things that, like, for instance, right now, the thing I was just talking about with my sister, like, I want to put that away, right? I don't want to feel that. I don't want that in my conscious. I don't want to be thinking about it. I don't want to be feeling it. I don't want to have it happening. And so I push it aside and I push it away instead of allowing myself to feel it, because I've got things to do. I have things to do other than cry about what's happened or cry about whatever, But here's the thing. We can, and this is what I'm learning, we can feel that emotion, have those thoughts, those feelings, and not judge them, not push them away, and just allow yourself to think and feel them while focusing on something else. It just doesn't feel good. And it distracts me from what I'm doing. But it is important. And it is also a reason why I will be meditating more. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope that's useful for anybody out there who feels shame, and just gets you thinking about why it is you're feeling shame, how useful of an emotion it is, because it's not useful. It's not. And start thinking about having compassion for yourself and sympathy and understanding, and make friends with that part of you. Make friends, talk to it, put it outside of you, and be like, hey, you. I'm having feelings about you, and let's discuss, right? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for today. That's my thought about shame and all the rest of the stuff that I was talking about. So yes, I'm gonna relax because there's lots going on, and that's why there's 50 bazillion thoughts, and I would rather be right here with you, focused on you, and that's why I'm going to meditate more. So for the time being, I am grateful because I have, all the problems I have are good problems to have. My business is growing. I'm figuring out ways to run it. I have people helping me to run my business. Well, not my business. I have business partners, and I have them as well. They're my mentors as well, and I'm learning so much. And this business is growing, and I can see that it's going to be very successful. And the problems that I'm having, nothing ever happens, like Robin said last night, nothing ever happens to you. It all happens for you. So that's what I'm looking at, and I'm grateful for everything that happens for me. So I'm going to remind you, as I always do, and never have a good segue for, you can always choose. I want you to remember that you can always choose to have a grateful day.